world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to NHL and UFC. BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source for every three-pointer to hat trick. BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here.
Like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy and you probably smell the crooked referees on Roger Goodell. Yeah, money like this and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this and I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
All right. Big ups to the fam. Appreciate y'all, man, on this Saturday, or actually Sunday stream, man. Much love to the fam. Appreciate y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fam. Shout out to the mighty Who Dat Nation, man. We up in this thing, Sports Coma, representing. Man, listen, man, big ups to you guys. I appreciate you joining me on this stream. Now, of course, man, listen, this ain't business enough, man. The Saints are making some moves. They completed their coordinator hires. So they get that out of the way, and very interesting. And it's just as what a lot of the insiders said it was going to be. I mean, really it was. The hiring of Dougie Nussmeier as the OC, that was like very easy, right? Of course, they looked at Brother Prince, but he was more of a Rooney Rule situation. You had to get them guys, the two defensive coordinators, both Jones and Parker, were Rooney Rule appeasers. They appeased the hirers, and then they went to the guys they wanted, which was Staley, Brandon Staley, the former head coach of the Chargers, who now takes the reign of the Saints defense to move the defense back to, should we say, respectability? Saints defense last year, they had some pluses, but consistency wasn't, as you can say that for the whole damn team, to be honest with you. That's the thing that really hurt the Saints, is just the inconsistencies all over the place. Inconsistencies in terms of coaching, being consistent with your message, penalizing guys when they don't do what they're supposed to do, as opposed to praising them when they don't earn it, accountability, that type of thing. So once again, we are back in a situation where we have new coaches here, and the theme does not change. Accountability must rule here if success is to follow and to stay, because we might get something early on, but then again, you have to have these things to be consistent, and you have to win, man. You can't win without being accountable. That is the thing. But anyway, big ups to y'all. Appreciate y'all. We'll talk about this story and others. We'll go into the hiring, because this is very important. The Saints get a defensive coordinator. We know Kellen Moore is the offensive guy. Nussmeier will help him formulate the game plans. But the defense will be totally Staley's baby. If there is indeed a philosophy change there with Staley taking over the Saints defense, that means that the free agent outlook could change as well. That could change as well. So big ups to y'all, man. Appreciate y'all being in the stream. Much love. Cartel, big ups. Black Major, I see you. OG Jerry, Kai, Young City. Big ups to all y'all, man. Appreciate y'all for being in the stream. I see you, Jason. Big ups. Gundam. Shout out to brother Gundam as well. Much love. Brother Devon's in this thing. KK, what's up, KK? Shout out to you, Queen. Appreciate you. What's up, Desi? How you doing? Appreciate you for being here as well. Much love, man. All right. So big ups to everybody out here, man. We good, man. Brother David says, Q, what's up, fam? Right. He says, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Has that been that long, man? Shout out to you, man. Brother Byron, big ups to you. All right. Yeah, the family saying wear, no hat. Yeah, that's been the thing, man. It's always a hat. That was almost like LL Cool J. Remember for the longest time when LL Cool J was rapping, you never seen LL Cool J's his hairstyle or whatever. He always rocked that Kango. He always had a Kango on. I was doing some LL Cool Q shit. But anyway, shout outs to y'all, man. Good to see y'all. What's up, Marvin? Shout out to you, man. Appreciate you for being in this thing as well, man. But what's up, Dr. Gray? How you doing, sir? Appreciate you as well. Hope you guys are having a pretty good weekend, man, as well. All right. What's up, Jaden? Shout out to you. Yeah, I see. LL Cool Q. That's what's going on, man. No Kango today. All right. What's up, brother Wallace? Shout out, man. All right. So anyway, fam, let's get into it, man, on this. It just happened to be my birthday today, so I want to celebrate it with you guys. We're going to talk a little Saints, and that's always a good thing to do on your birthday. And I've been doing this for the last, I guess, several years, doing shows on my B-Day, so or Earth Day, whatever most people call it, your arrival here on this planet, in this plane, man. So with that experience, man, it's always cool to share with the people that are super cool, man. So much love to the family, the Who Dat family. Big ups to all you, man. Appreciate y'all for being in the stream. We're going to do this thing. All right. So big ups, man. So let's jump off into this story right here, man. This is a Bleacher Report's breakdown of it with Brandon Staley. Saints reportedly agreed to a contract as Kellen Moore's defensive coordinator. Saints head coach staff is rounding into form. Yes, they are, man. They're rounding into form pretty good. All right. So NFL's Ian Rappaport's said that Saints agreed to a deal. Move is expected since Moore was hired as the coach. Rappaport reported earlier that the Staley was interviewed with the Saints. Staley joins the staff that includes Nussmeier as the offensive coordinator. So you got your OC, Nussmeier, you got your DC, Staley, and now you have the special teams coordinator, which is Phil Galliano from the previous administration. He was the assistant for Darian Rizzi, who's now a special teams coordinator for the Denver Broncos, and Sean Payton. Those ties, man, those NFL ties. All right, so Moore and Nussmeier worked together with Philly in 2024. Moore was the offensive coordinator. Staley and Moore previously worked together during the 23 campaign with the Chargers. Staley was the head coach, and Moore was the offensive coordinator. Saints will mark Staley's return to the position of defensive coordinator for the first time since 2020. He spent 3 years as the Chargers head coach for 21 to 23 before being fired after a Week 15 loss to the Raiders, where they got stumped out. He joined Kyle Shanahan's staff as an assistant head coach with the Niners last year. Now, his past experience as a defensive coordinator in the NFL was with the Rams in 2020. The unit ranked first in the league in points and yards allowed, helping the Rams make the playoffs as a wild card team. Now, that was a dominating situation, right? Y'all remember that Rams team, but at the end of the day, that would help leapfrog him to the job as the coach of the Chargers. That's how he got the job. He had such a good role defensively that year that helped him get that Chargers position. But that Charger defense wasn't all that. But anyway, we're going to get into that. The Saints will be hoping Staley can have similar impact to them. The defense finished 19 in points allowed, 30th in points allowed, and 30th in points allowed last season. It was the first time since 2016 they ranked in the bottom half of the NFL in points allowed. New Orleans has missed the playoffs in each of the past 4 years and counting. Longest streak without a postseason appearance for the franchise since the 5-year stretch that happened from 01 to 05. That was those dreaded pre-Katrina years. Very terrible. But at the end of the day, man, all I can say, man, is that we're gonna see how this situation turns. But the biggest question in terms of Brandon Staley is he's a coach that does have a serious temperament in terms of his defense. But what does it mean in terms of his scheme? What does it mean for the Saints? So let's do this. Let's jump right over here. Shout out to Ross. Ross did a wonderful job on this article. Y'all guys feel free to check it out on LouisianaSports.net. He writes over there. He did a wonderful job with this article here. Brandon Staley's defensive scheme brings fresh approach to the Saints. Hiring as the DC may fuel some skepticism from some because of his tenure with the Chargers, but his track record as a defensive specialist suggests that he's back in a role that plays to his strengths. In turn, the defensive scheme should be one that also highlights the talents of the defensive personnel in New Orleans, though some changes will certainly be made over time. Those personnel changes for now are simply hypothetical, but the impact of Staley's scheme isn't. In fact, it may be exactly what the Saints need in order to bring top-level defensive play back to the Big Easy. He said it may take more than it may take more than next year, but a shift to the 3-4 odd front system could play dividends for the Saints. So you look at some stuff from Staley, you can see they talk about the 34 defense, which is the 3 down lineman and 4 linebacker look, or a 3-3 with an extra DB with your 2 corners and your safeties, right? It's like a 3-3. What is it? A 3-3-5, I want to say. But it's a situation where you have 3 down linemen. I've seen him implement that when he had 3. I looked at some film on it where he had 3 down linemen and 3 linebackers operating, and then the rest with defensive backs roaming around making plays, blitzing his safeties from different angles. But once again, in order to operate that system, and we'll get more into it, you're going to have to really, man, have some beasts up front. You know, and I mean strictly like we've talked about that before, because when you start talking about 34 defense, that really goes back to the glory years if implemented correctly. Like, you know, I'm expecting Pat Swillen or Ricky Jackson or none of those guys we don't have none of those guys in the Saints defense currently. So to be able to operate such a scheme, you're going to have to find the right guys to put in the mix, and it starts up front. You know, you're going to have to find a major defensive tackle you situate that 3 front. If that is indeed the move that they're going to make, that guy's not Bink Saunders. That guy's not Bink Saunders. It's not Nate Shepard, and it is not Brian Bresee. You know, you're going to have Brian Bresee operates. He'll be better utilized if that is indeed the scheme on the edge. Hell, he outsacked the defensive ends. And it does too, if that is indeed what they're going to do. It does shape the Saints free agency too. Is because, you know, if I'm just saying, it does look differently, because you know Carl Granderson is here, and then who you have at the tackle position. So it does bear some thought process as we move forward. Things could change, and that is a good thing. All right. So anyway, it may be exactly what the Saints need in order to bring top-level defensive play, take more than next season to pay dividends, but the alternate schematic approach reverses the typical 4 down linemen and 3 linebacker look, instead using 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers, 2 inside and 2 outside. The inside linebackers typically coverage and run focus, while the outsides are most often considered pass rushers that can flip between pass rushing and linebacker depending on the situation and play call. The dynamic use of the front requires athleticism and speed at the second level to contribute to both pressure and coverage, while size reigns supreme in the trenches. As an athletic focus for the pass rushers, allow for more speed to better counteract NFL's present offensive themes of outside and mobile quarterbacks. Investing more of this style on the defense is something that will help to bring some much needed updates to the team's defensive approach, which has struggles in recent years. The athletic focus on the pass rusher allows them for more speed to better counteract the NFL's present-day offensive schemes outside and mobile quarterbacks. Investing more of this style of play along the defense is something that will help bring much-needed updates. Specific roles for other players around the unit could also help to bolster performances and play to their strengths. Cornerback Alontae Taylor was off to a fast start as the team's featured slot during his early on, but before having to be moved to the perimeter. He was noted as one of the most disruptive players. As he fell off, has adjusted yet another new role. He had he was doing real well, and then that's what happened when you have to shift because things change. If the Saints invest in another starter for the outside, Taylor becomes a prime candidate for the famed star role in Fangio-like defensive scheme. The position would allow Taylor to play more of a versatile cornerback safety role, opening up his theme to recapture the disruption he brought through his position switch in 2024. Now, listen, that's a good point, because if we all remember exactly what happened when the Saints drafted Alontae Taylor was at first seen as a safety that the Saints could use at the cornerback position. Remember, he was drafted to be a replacement for C.D. Deuce, or the beloved Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He was brought in to play safety. So if the Saints, if that is the philosophy switch where he goes to safety, that could be something very interesting, right? So that's very interesting. But like I said, the original vision for him was the guy to play. He was supposed to be safety. And they just decided, hey, man, we're going to use you at the nickel. And every now and again, if I need you to play safety, you'll play safety. But ultimately, when things shift, guys leave, they trade Lattimore, and the man had to shift down and do what he do. So with that being said, many coverages will start out in zone, then based on the pattern recognition of defensive backs as they watch the route runner release from the line of scrimmage, then they quickly turn to man coverage. So it's going to be interesting. This helps teams set a guidelines to follow against one of the league's most challenging offensive pre-snap concepts. Finally, the inclusion of the cover 6, which includes cover 2 look on one half of the field and the cover 4 on the other, allows an extra deep defender to help cover the fourth of the field, typically the boundary side of the field there. And he says the extra deep defender can rotate into a rubber role, which you move him around, like you mentioned, the star role. But like I said, if it is a 34 look or a 3-3 look, the Saints will definitely have to make some moves up front to accommodate that defense. You have to be strong to run a 3-4 or 3-3 or whatever the guys, his scheme is, because it's 3-4, it's 33, it's 3-3-5, that type of stuff. We'll see exactly how it all goes, man, going forward. But this is very interesting to see if this scheme, because he did have success with the Rams, but that Rams team was loaded. They had a lot of talent there. And like I said, when we get a good defensive coordinator, I'm not going overboard on it. I'm still on my show me game, because we had a guy like Spags came down here. Spagnuolo took over the Saints team for a year, and the team wasn't as talented, and he really bombed to the point where he ran one of the worst defenses in Saint history. And it just showed that without proper players, the scheme don't mean a hill of beans. It really don't. So we'll see if Staley likes what he likes here, but it's some movement that got to be made here. The Saints defense do have some older players in there, like Demario Davis and Tyrann Mathieu, and imagination, and a plan is needed to decide on, bringing our defense back to life and making it more aggressive, making it fast, making it more turnover focus, guys flowing to the ball, stopping the run, because you trying to do that, man. It's going to be interesting, man. And we have to get the proper linebackers for that role. It's a fun look. But in the end, we'll see how it looks. So Staley is the defensive coordinator. Now, that's one vantage point. Shout out to Ross. This is another one. This comes by way of Balt Beat. These are the people, that cover the Los Angeles Chargers. And this is what they had to say, because remember, they had Staley there, and this is their take. So it's not like, just one take, it's just an optimistic take. But these guys came from somewhere else, and it's good to know what they did or what the people thought about what they did there. You see, that's this weird thing where guys move from one team to another. They forget what they did from the previous stop and only talk about the good stuff. And I always allude to the process of thinking when we talk about what happened here with our offensive coordinator last year with Clint Kubiak, Andrew Janoku, John Benton, those guys who are all now, Rick Denson, who are all all clicked up with the running the Chargers unit now. I mean, not the Chargers, the Seahawks unit. And what I seen when they came here, you know, and I seen when the talking, and I remember all of the talk that they came in with when they were saying and how it started and then how it ended. And it wasn't the same. They did not maintain the same message. Now, one thing, if personnel changes, it's going to happen. You're going to lose guys due to injury. You're going to lose guys here or there. It's just guys, certain guys are going to play better than other guys in the rotation. They'll jump ahead of them. It's going to happen. But the message that those guys had last year wasn't the same like it was at the start of the year. By the end of the year, these people were defeated. They were beat. They didn't have any energy. They didn't have any intelligence. And more certainly, they didn't have any they didn't have any, what's the word I'm searching for? The big word is they didn't have no accountability, but they did not discipline these players. And I'm big on that. You cannot run a football team that is successful without disciplining players when they don't do what they're paid to do. We don't pay players to go out there not knowing they playbooks and consistently late to the party and blocking people or whatever. Whether you dropping the ball when you're not supposed to be dropping, you blowing blocks consistently and you hurting the team, you getting penalties, you are supposed to be penalized for that. You don't let that guy walk off of that and just he fumbles the ball away. He just walks off and you pat him on the helmet. Now you're going to go over there and give me 100 push-ups, 50 push-ups. You got to pay for that. Come on. It has to be something to that degree where you have to make sure that these guys, if you hurt the team, there's something that comes with that. There's something that comes with that. And I've seen stupid interim coaches this for the Saints this past season give them accolades when they were failing miserably. That's not how you run no football team. So, it's the message has to be the message, regardless of who the personnel is. The message doesn't change. The signal doesn't change. We are going to win at all costs. We're going to win. We're going to cultivate an environment of winning, which has to be tied to accountability. And we're going to do everything we're supposed to do in that regard. That is not breaking the rules, of course, but that's the mentality that you have to establish if you're going to be a winning team. If not, the history will repeat itself, unfortunately, or fortunately. One way or the other, you're going to get that lesson. Anyway, this is what they said about us hiring Staley as our defensive coordinator. Saints laughably hire former Chargers head coach Brandon Staley as the DC. Well, let's see what the writer said. Writer's name is, hold on, I know it's down here somewhere. Okay, it's up here. Jason Reed from the Balt Beat. Staley's Los Angeles Chargers tenure went down as the most disappointing in franchise history. Despite having ample talent to contend, Staley led the Chargers to the playoffs just once and coached the team to a historic blown playoff lead. Despite being a defensive wizard, he gave him credit for that. Staley continually failed to piece together even an average defense while in LA. Fittingly enough, Staley made team history in the last game coached with the Bolts, allowing 63 points against the Raiders on prime time. Staley was unable to land any defensive coordinator jobs after his poor Chargers tenure, settling instead for an assistant job with the Niners. After 1 year in that role, Staley has found himself as a coordinator once more, thanks to his old friend. Kellen Moore has officially hired Staley to be the Saints defensive coordinator, according to Adam Schefter. Saints hired former Chargers head coach Staley as coordinator. Staley's long tenure as a defensive coordinator didn't go well. He led the Rams to the number one. He said did go well. I'm sorry. In 2020 did go well. It led the Rams to number one scoring defense in the entire league. This was ultimately what got him hired by the Chargers in the first place. This is true. The Rams, they were loaded too. Good team. Rams tenure feels like an eternity ago. What was like 3 years with the Chargers. Los Angeles never ranked in any of the top 20 in defense under Staley, often wasting special performances from Justin Herbert. Staley's biggest strength was his downfall on the Chargers. There is no denying Staley has a great mind for a schematic defense on the chalkboard. However, where Staley faltered was coaching his players to execute the designs he drew up. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? I'm a chalkboard wizard, but the inability to deliver the scheme to the players. He was able to do it with the Rams for the time that he did it, but in 3 years with the Chargers. So he says, a bad coach tries to force players into a system that doesn't play to their strengths. A good coach builds a system around his players to play their strengths. Staley did the former. Chargers players have spoken out about Staley's defense and how its overcomplicated nature led to the team struggling. The opposite has been true under the current defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter, who coached the Chargers to the #1 scoring defense in the NFL. If the current players on the Saints roster are suited to play in Staley's defensive scheme, then he might not be as big of a disaster for New Orleans. But if they aren't, and if Staley didn't learn from his failed Chargers tenure, then Saints family members are in for a ugly defensive season. Now, of course, these are the words of, like I said, this is a writer from their side, from the Chargers side of the fence, talking about Staley's inability to do something. And I appreciate this game because that's why, like I mentioned, Clint Kubiak and what he did here for the Saints. He started off good, but he was a terrible adjuster. He was downright foolish. I ain't gonna say foolish, but just stupid. I'm just gonna be honest with you. After watching film over and over again, the dude could not adjust. He could not adjust. He did not know how to use players that wasn't starters. And he picked those guys. He did not know how to find portions of the game to put these players in. He did not know how to operate offense, right? As a whole, he would strictly force one guy. He would lazily and stupidly put the load on one player to do everything like he did with Taysom Hill. And that spawned the nursery rhyme when I created for him is when Taysom Hill's away, Clint Kubiak can't call a play. So good riddance to that. And whoever he gets up there, hopefully he figured it out. But throughout an entire NFL season, he didn't figure out shit. And I looked at the film. I said, this guy don't learn anything. If he gonna ever be as good as what his father was, he has to learn how to adjust and get it right. Like the first 2 weeks, yeah, he did well. But when the NFL adjusted to Kubiak's play calling, they failed miserably. The Eagles game, the third game, when McCoy went down with that injury, the Saints still were in position, despite all the injuries and the stuff that happened in that game, to win that game. They were in position. They still could have beat the Eagles that game. So, I mean, whatever. But at the end of the day, that is what we pay attention to when I'm not the one, because I've seen it so much. You've seen it so much. Is when these guys walk through the door, you're like, okay, we got a new coach. Let's see what the guy do. What's your scheme? But that's a big part of it. Having the players to operate a 3-4 system or do that. Do we have the personnel currently to operate a 3-4 system successfully? That's the question. The answer is, I don't think we do. Now, I do like the people that we have, but it takes time for the switch. Like if these guys are accustomed to a 43 and you're making a 3-4 switch or whatever his scheme is going to be, the issue is you got to have the right people. And even if you're bringing in new people, whether they're drafted or otherwise, they still have to get used to his style of defense. So at the end, we'll see how Staley does here for the Saints. The 34 defense, if that is indeed what he's going to do, is a very historically good defense for us. We love that style of defense because it was played the way we wanted it to play. At the end of the day, when you learn from other people from the other side of the fence that had them as their coach, it is good to know these things because eventually they might pop up. The guy, hey, man, I warned y'all, didn't I? Anyway, let's move on, man, to the next article right here. And these are the potential hires that Staley, speaking of Staley, shout out to John Sigel at the Saints Wire, potential signing of players that can end up going to the Saints that are connected to Brandon Staley. So as you know, a lot of the positions are getting filled. Of course, you'll hear some of the assistant roles get picked up. But in terms of the defense, This is the first. The coordinator hire was big, and of course, the coordinator would then bring in guys that he's familiar with to operate to build his team the way he wants to build that team. So in the end, we'll see how it goes. But 6 coaches who could join Brandon Staley's Saints defense, and this is what John Sigler kind of put out there. Things are picking up for the Saints, who are joining the rest of the NFL in Indianapolis over the weekend for the 2025 NFL Scouting Combine. The Saints are hiring Chargers head coach Brandon Staley as the defensive coordinator on Kellen's staff. But for the most part, Staley has a blank slate to work with. The only defensive coaches on this team who have hung around since last season so far, the pass rush specialist Brian Young and the senior assistant Peter Guanta, plus assistants Adam Gristick and Matt Giordano. Staley needs to bring in help at every level: defensive line, linebacker, safety, and cornerbacks. Here's a few players who he thinks could be reached to. Will Harris, right? You know, and you might say, Will Harris, now that's not the one we know. This is Harris, who's 37, previously worked under Staley as an assistant defensive backs coach in 2023, spent 24 seasons as the Florida Gators defensive backs coach, and made the most of it, helping their defense improve in almost every area. So you show all of his stuff right there of what he could do, Will Harris. So he says it in every area, including sacks, tackles for loss, forced fumbles, interceptions, turnovers, gain. While he since left for an opportunity with Miami, Florida's in-state rival, he could get a higher salary in New Orleans. Stay tuned on this one. So Will Harris, this is the potentiality. Ed Donatel, y'all remember him, old coach and longtime Vic Fangio assistant. Donatel, who's 68, has been out of football for a few years after working with the Vikings defensive coordinator in 2022. He has experience coaching DBs at both the pro and college level, so you can do that in New Orleans as either a coach or a senior assistant. You have to wonder if he's ready for retirement, but he did overlap with Staley on both the Bears and Broncos. Ed Donatel. Eric Henderson, 42. He's New Orleans native who went to Edna Carr. So there you go. Previously worked under Staley with the Rams, defensive coach and run game coordinator. He's coached for either the Rams or Chargers in 2017, currently wears a lot of hats for USC as their co-defensive coordinator, defensive line coach, and run game coordinator. So he may not be easy to get out of Southern California and back to Louisiana, but he's a good coach and could be someone Staley looks to recruit. Eric Henderson. Jay Rogers, 48, who could be another option to coach the Saints defensive line under Staley. That role he held last year with the Falcons. And I don't want anything from the Falcons, but who let him go in January? And it's the same role he's held before on Staley's Chargers defense. So there you go. This is probably the clearest of one because he was the defensive line coach with Staley, and those guys always seem to go for those guys. So there you go. Unlike some of the other names on this list, he's currently available and may be a realistic option. John Timo, 32, also worked before as an assistant with the Staley's Chargers staff. He's currently an assistant with the Falcons, but it's unclear whether he'll be retained. Yet they had some turnover on that side of the ball. He previously worked under Washington head coach Chris Peterson and one of Kellen's mentors as a graduate assistant. So this is a strong recommendation to have on your resume. He's a former pro linebacker himself and may be ready to lead a group position. Is this guy your new linebackers coach? We shall see. Mike Nolan, right? Nolan, 65, previously with Kellen Moore on the Dallas Cowboys staff. He enjoyed tremendous success in his 3-year run as the Saints linebackers coach. He's currently working as a head coach of the UFL's Michigan Panthers, where he won recognition as the Spring League's Coach of the Year. It's also possible he may prefer to stay with that team, but he could be a great influence on the fresh-faced Saints coaching staff. He did work in the capacity as an assistant before. So that's some of the names of guys that could potentially be on the Saints defense under Staley. And I do think this Jay Rogers dude, and I think John Timo, these guys, these are real possibilities, to be honest with you. We'll see where they go with everything else. But we should start seeing a lot of this stuff pop and twist real fast, especially over this next week. We'll be hearing the names of some of these guys, and it's going to be kind of expedited because of, you got the combine and everything going on. So getting the staff and everybody in the building, getting them ready and done, and then moving forward to make things pop and shake, building the team going forward. And speaking of other things, let's give a shout out to Bob Rose at Athlon Sports. And he kind of talks about TJ Paganetti. And that was a guy that a lot of people, when we signed him, he kind of went through an underneath, so to speak, of, the conversation about who this guy is. And Bob thinks he is going to be he was an I guess what underrated signing that could really pay dividends for the Saints. Let's see what he got to say. Says it should come as no surprise that the majority of new assistants on Saints staff have worked with newly hired coach Kellen Moore. Most of the offensive staff has worked Kellen Moore at some point during his 7-year career. Nussmeier, Scott Tolzien, Chase Haslett, Brandon Nugent all have ties. Another key addition is TJ Paganetti, who was an offensive assistant with Moore for the Eagles this past season. Considered an under-the-radar hiring by the Saints, Paganetti may turn out to be a critical addition. Here's why. Here's a look at him. TJ Paganetti's coaching career. Paganetti got his coaching start while still an undergraduate student at Oregon in 07. From 07 to 08, he was an offensive interim, moving up to work specifically with quarterbacks in 09 to 12. And then 2013, Paganetti was hired by the Eagles to be an analyst for their quarterbacks and offense in general. He was brought in by the Eagles coach Chip Kelly, who he worked under at Oregon, and Paganetti served in that role for 2 years before returning to Oregon as a graduate assistant and linebackers coach. After 2 years in that stint with Oregon, Paganetti returned to the Eagles in 2017, this time under Peterson, and Paganetti served as the assistant offensive line coach and offensive analyst. He remained with Philly until he was hired by the Saints. Also serving as an assistant running backs coach until his role with the run game specialist and assistant offensive coach the last few seasons. During his career, Paganetti was on the staff for the BCS national champion runner-ups, 7 NFL playoff teams, 3 NFC champions, and 2 Super Bowl titles. He was thought of highly enough to be retained at Philly staff through his 3 different head coaches and 6 different offensive coordinators. So that's pretty good. During Paganetti's 10 years with the Eagles, Philadelphia has had 5 1,000-yard running seasons by 4 different running backs. That includes the over 2,005 yards from the NFL Offensive Player of the Year, Saquon Barkley, this past season. It was the second time the Eagles had a back that led the league in rushing during this tenure. Over the 10 years, Phillies finished with a top 10 rushing attack 9 times while ranking 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4 times. Additionally, the Eagles have annually been considered an outstanding pass blocking unit. During Paganetti's tenure, the team had 10 top ranking in total offense 6 times, and all of those was the last 3 years. Now, Jeff Stoutland has been Philly's offensive line coach since 2013, the same year Paganetti was first brought there. Stoutland, along with Kellen Moore, were giving the bulk of credit for the Eagles' 4-3 season and an impressive ramp to the Super Bowl, right? In New Orleans, Paganetti won't have a lack of talent to work with. The Saints still have the league's most versatile running backs in Alvin Kamara, who's coming off a 1,493 yards from scrimmage season and a career best 950 rushing yards in 14 games. Saints also have a top-tier left tackle in Tali Fuaga. Additionally, the team also has the league's better centers in Eric McCoy, and they saw a big improvement in 2022 from Trevor Penning. Paganetti was underrated, but still a highly vital part of that staff. Just 35 years old, he's now out from under Stoutland's shadow and has a chance to expand his already impressive resume with the Saints. So his role is learning under Stoutland. Paganetti being there for 10 years, a couple of championships, a young coach, learning under Stoutland, the legendary coach Stoutland, who was doing all the fantastic stuff with the Saints, with the Eagles offensive line, which is something that we need, because we need a change of temperament from our offensive line. We're just too soft mentality wise. Y'all know what I mean? Like, we're not mean enough from an offensive line standpoint. Our temperament is too soft. Like many games last year, they were going through the motions, and it's not what it's supposed to be. So we need these guys to come in here and shift things up, bring some new guys in. We need to get more physical, more mean in our ability to have, in terms of our philosophy of just mauling out and just being knocking over people to get it. We was too soft. You either be pushed, you don't be a push, you push them over, or be a pushover. So hopefully he can do that as well. All right. So anyway, that's good article. Shout out to Bob, as well as we kind of look into the cap, and we kind of touched on this to one of the last stream we kind of broke down, as over the cap currently has the Saints at 47.1+ mil in the cap, still the highest in the NFL currently, and we have to be able to be about the business of turning this around. We kind of covered how the Saints can do. They can actually do it several different ways. There are rumors circulating around and articles about the Saints putting Cam Jordan in the street. But if Cam wants to finish with the Saints, pay cuts need to be assessed to all of these guys. Derek Carr is the only one out here officially said that he's not going to take a pay cut. He'll do a restructure. Cam Jordan has not been talked about in terms of taking a pay cut. Taysom Hill, any of these other guys. All of these guys that have the big contracts that's eating up a lot of space have to be really have to consider taking pay cuts to help the team along. If they don't take pay cuts, you have to cut them. One way or the other, cuts have to be made, and if you don't take a pay cut, we will cut you. That's just what it is. And they'll give you an option to do it. And Derek Carr already said no, which is why you should put him trade. You know, if they say trade, I don't care what it is. He got to go. We can't afford it. He has to go. You don't want to take a pay cut, and that's fine. I'm not mad at him for that, but eventually he has to go. And then, of course, you take a look at this is some of the free agents that'll be coming up in terms of the draft. You see, I mean, in the free agency period, these are some of the free agents that'll be out there. And depending on what the Saints do, and I don't think they will, I don't know if they'll be, I doubt they'll be that active in free agency, even if they were able to clear up some money. But then again, it depends on what Kellen Moore sees out there. These are some of the top quarterbacks that are available, and you can see what relatively is a weak free agency quarterback type situation. The best quarterback that is available in terms of free agency is Sam Darnold. Even though Sam Darnold had a knockdown drag out year last year and had some spot success here or there, I don't know if I'm still kind of hesitant on him, giving him a lot of money to bring into your team. I'd be hesitant on that. But Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Jacoby Brissett, Stidham, Mariota, these are some of the guys that are available. They got Justin Fields out there, Garoppolo, Mason Rudolph, Easton Stick. It just gets worse as we go further down. So it's not a very strong free agency period in terms of the quarterback situation. As you can see, this is the running backs: Aaron Jones, Raheem Mostert, and Najee Harris. Those are some of the running backs available. And you go down like that. And of course, the wide receivers: Stephon Diggs, T. Higgins, Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin, Amari Cooper, and so on and so forth. DeAndre Hopkins. All these guys are free agents this year. Let's see who the tight ends are. Tyler Conklin with the Jets. Juwan Johnson's on the list. So you can see some of these guys right here. So I don't know. I don't know. Cam Robinson is the best tackle. Ronnie Staley. And this is just some of the people here, fam, just to get y'all familiar with them. But like I said, I don't anticipate the Saints being really super active in terms of what they're going to do in free agency. You know, you might find a guy like a third tier guy there for depth purposes, but they definitely have to go into free agency to find some help as far as the backup's concerned. We need some help there, especially on the offensive line. Defensively, interiorly speaking, that is something also to pay attention to. You know, if we can get help there. So whatever the Saints are going to do, more than likely, if they do be active in free agency, it'll be involving Mickey Loomis doing the thing that he always does, is signing guys with cheap, very little years. And then ultimately what he does is he starts kicking the can, because that's what I don't expect him to ever stop doing that until he gets transitioned or he transitions up out of this reality. He's old and he will never stop doing that. That is something that he will always do, you know, and he wasn't doing it because they had to do it. He was doing it because that's what he does. And an old dog like Mickey Loomis is not going to learn any new tricks. Indeed. All right. Let's keep it going. And we got this article right here: Saints 4 biggest needs. Shout out to SB Nation. Saints enter a new era with Kellen Moore. Where could they go in the draft? As the confetti flew down Philadelphia on Philly after the Super Bowl victory, the Saints also got their chance to celebrate. With the season being over, they could be a new era with former Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore as the coach. With the Saints entering the new era, where could they begin to address their needs come NFL draft time? This is how these guys ranked the needs according to them. Y'all guys put in the chat, because unlike last year, a lot of the family members are kind of different on their thought process on what are the needs. So if you kindly put the top three, I only need three, the top three needs in your opinion that the Saints need to address in the draft. The top three. Do that for me. All right, so edge rusher, that's number one. They said edge rusher. Two of the top four pass rushers on the Saints in terms of snaps are free agents: Chase Young, Peyton Turner. And even if they were returning, the Saints need a shot of energy on that defensive line. If Staley is truly, and he is, the defensive coordinator, find a true impact player up front, has got to be a priority number one. And then he talks about Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M, Alada Joe from UCLA, and Josh Joyner from Minnesota. That's some of the best fits that he's talking about. Well, edge rusher at the top of the list. Number two, wide receiver. Chris Olave is a star, but mounting conclusions have me worried about his long-term health. Wide receiver Rashid Shaheed's coming off a knee injury. And after that room gets into guys like Mason Tipton, after that it gets to Mason Tipton. If this offense is going to improve, they need their wide receiver depth to improve considerably. Best fits, they talk about Egbuka from Ohio State, Isaiah Bond, who's very good like Isaiah Bond, and Jalen Royals from Utah State. The third one, tight end, the tight end position, Juwan Johnson is an impending free agent, and Foster Monroe's deal expires after 25. Getting younger and more explosive at the tight end position could raise the ceiling of the offense, especially considering the work Moore did with tight end Dallas Goedert in Philly. Best fits, Ty Warren from Penn State, Harold Fanning from Bowling Green, he's good, and Gavin Bartholomew from Pitt. Cornerback situation, what is the fourth one? So he got defensive end, wide receiver, tight end, and finally cornerback. Paulson Adebo is coming off a broken femur, as well as Hugo Amadi are both free agents. Alante Taylor locks down the nickel corner spot, while the hope is that Kool-Aid McKinstry takes the leap next season. If Adebo isn't ready to go or takes a deal somewhere else, finding another outside cornerback could be high on the list. Best fits, Will Johnson from Michigan, Maxwell Harrison from Kentucky, and Kobe Bryant from Kansas. So shout out to them for this article. And this is their thought process on the top positions of need. Defensive end, what was the next one? Defensive end, cornerback, wide receiver, edge rusher, wide receiver, tight end, and cornerback. That's what he perceives, or they perceive, as the top picks in terms of what we would need going into the draft. What do you guys think? Let me kind of move over to your guys' side, see what you guys believe. What are the top picks? Byron says, all right. KT says, okay, hold on. Is that one? Okay, KT says edge. All right, shout out to my brother KT. KT, I'm still watching a lot of them videos you sent me, brother. I got like about 15 of them suckers, bro. I'm going through them. All right, edge is number one. Receivers number two. All right, I got you. And you say O-line is number three. All right, the edge rusher, receiver, offensive line. I got you, KT. Shout out to you as well. KK says QB. Yes, indeed. All right, Byron says offensive tackle, wide receiver, and edge. Okay, thank you, brother. Jack says defensive tackle, offensive tackle. All right, I got you. Rose says offensive line. What's up, Debbie? Says QB. All right, that's what I'm talking about. All right, let's see what else. Who else? Okay, Saints for Life says nose tackle. All right, offensive guard and defensive end. All right, trenches. We need trench guys. All right, Pelicans Nola says running back, defensive line, and tight end. 504 Co says QBs and guard. Damn, Q, we need more than three. Yes, indeed. All right, yeah, we got a lot of needs, man. We got a lot of needs. What's up, Mickey? Mickey says, yes, I do. I have to cover up the vodka smell. Okay, damn, Mickey. I ain't know you drinking like that, brother. Come on, Mickey. Don't put all your business out there, bro. You know KT in the chat too, huh, Mickey? You know KT in the chat. Talk to him, KT. Mickey, your worst nightmare is in this chat. I don't know if you know that or not, man. You might want to get on the body here, right? KT's in the chat. You better watch out, Slick Mick. But yeah, man, this is very interesting. Mickey said we need a new general manager. You the general manager. Okay, you all right. Jaden says, Q, do you think Kellen Moore and Brandon Staley will do a good or bad job? Saints off a head coach and defensive coordinator. I think it depends, bro. It depends. I want to see the Saints fix a lot of stuff, coming here. It's depending on where they go. Like if they're very real about what the team needs to have success, then I think success can happen very fast. I think if we're in denial on what we need to fix, then it's just going to keep presenting itself. Like we were over the last couple of years in denial about a lot of stuff. Like number one, our offensive line ain't as good as a lot of people believe it is. It is not. Tyler Fuaga is going to be good. Trevor Penning going into his 4th year. And a lot of people are like, damn, is that true? I'm like, yes, he's going into his 4th year and he's still a work in progress. He did better this past season because you couldn't get no worse than what he did prior to that. You can't do no worse. Cesar Ruiz is not improving, in my opinion. I think he's topped out where he is. Eric McCoy is good, but he keeps getting hurt, which you have to be able to pay attention. You don't just look past that. You can't look past the fact that McCoy keeps getting hurt. That's a sign. So you would have to fix your offensive line. You have to provide. And then left guard. We don't have a left guard. That Lucas character was a backup who they were trying to give the left guard position to Nick Saldiveri, and he kept getting hurt too. So the offensive line is not nearly as good as people think it is. And I've been saying that for a while. They're not as good as you think they are. Tolly, I like Tolly. I do like Penning. He's behind on his development, but he's working. Eric McCoy is probably the best they have, but he keeps getting hurt. And then right guard, Ruiz struggles a lot. And I don't think he gets any better than I think he topped out at where he is. I mean, really, if you think about it, Cesar Ruiz should be one of the best guards in the game. Had all the playing time he's received. All of the playing time. Think about all the playing time Cesar Ruiz has received. And this is what we got here. One good year from him. And that's the year when he got paid. The rest of these years, you watch him on tape, he's slow to getting where he is. He gets beat all the time. So it's just, no, we're not as good as what we think. Well, and then the depth is horrible. Your backups are awful. Yeah, Ali Udo shouldn't have had a job. They kept that guy on the team the whole year. Landon Young didn't go anywhere. Nick Saldiveri can't stay hurt. They had this Shane Lemieux, who I nicknamed Shane LePew, like Pepe Le Pew, because he stank. His game was bad. So, I mean, you had all of this going on, and they didn't have it. And then the offensive line coach, the offensive coordinator, whoever you had that was the decision makers was not getting these guys prepared correctly. If you had one guy struggling to make blocks, that's one thing. That's an isolated situation. That's on him. But when you see as a collective, the offensive line not communicating properly, guys not knowing what they do, and the defense recognizing it to the point where they're timing the snapping of the ball to then shift or adjust to create confusion, to figure out who they're going to coming at the Saints lineman, and they don't know who they're going to block, and end up double blocking one guy, letting the other guy go. They were purposely doing that last year to the Saints on the back end of the season because they knew that they weren't communicating. And I knew it, and I seen what they're doing. You mean to tell me that offensive coordinator and that offensive line coach didn't see that and then been about the business of fixing it? Mm-mm. So, yeah, like I said, the offensive line, you cannot win if you don't have guys in the trenches. That's offense and defensive line. You got to have guys there. And as far as I'm concerned, the Saints don't run well enough. Their backups stink. The defensive line can't stop a nosebleed at times. The interior defensive tackles get pushed over. They're not consistent. You have Brian Bresee doing his thing. He needs to improve from a run stuffing perspective, but pass rushing, he's good there. The Saints aren't good in the middle. That's what it comes down to in terms of the defense. Both of those lines need to be fixed before the Saints start worrying about doing all this. I hear people, the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, cornerback, and all that stuff. But if you don't have guys in the trenches, look what the Eagles did to the Chiefs. If you don't have guys in the trenches that can get, those guys were sending 4 after they were getting supreme blitz and rush with 4 guys up front, everybody dropping back. When you do that, that's game over. My 4 is beating your 5 consistently, and I'm knocking your quarterback around, sacking them, forcing them into interceptions and everybody, because it's difficult. When 4 gets, when my 4 DEs beat my 4 defensive linemen beat your 5 offensive linemen, and that quarterback's back there, he trying to make throws, and the rest of the guys that's not my line are dropping into coverage and covering up passing lanes and making it very difficult for him to put passes in tight windows, then you can understand why you see cornerbacks getting interceptions and linebackers getting interceptions when that happens, because the guy's under duress and he's desperate. So as far as I'm concerned, if they're really serious about winning, you have to start there, because that offensive line needs help, and so does the interior defensive line of the Saints. We don't run the ball effectively enough, and we don't stop the run effectively enough, both of which we need to consistently win at any level. We don't have that. I would start there, and I know it's a lot, but you always supposed to start with the line. And once you build your line, then you can do everything else. You build from the inside out, not from the outside in. Let that be known. I'm going to say it again. You build from the inside out and not the opposite way around. Trench wall. We need to get them lines together. However we do that, that's what I'm saying. So if he is real about that, my friend, you'll see some success. You will. You will. Because if I can stop you from running and I can run the ball on you, man, we can do some stuff. We can die. I'm one-dimensionalizing you, and then I'm running the ball against you, moving the chains. We can do some stuff. We can win some games. We can build something. We can build the foundation that way. You see? Then everything else will come. But we have to start from the inside and then go out. Anyway, so yeah, that's my question on that. If they can do that, my brother, then we should see some success, some degree of success. All right, Cap Manny, what's up, man? All right, big ups to you. All right, KK, much love. Good to see you. Yeah, that's the thought process. AK says we need to have another 2017 draft to save this team. I don't know if you got that. You got some good players there, man. But a lot of people saying, "Hey, Q, could we trade? Could we trade back into the draft?" That's a talking point. People say, "Q, we had 9. We need to get more picks." I understand. I get it. But like I said, but when anytime you get an opportunity to be in the top 10 and you're not sold on what's up there, I can understand the philosophy of trading back to accrue more picks, depending on what it is. Somebody give you something, but what if the Saints' philosophy to move ahead? I don't know what Kellen Moore, which players he fancies or what he sees that he wants to do. And let me ask y'all this. Which is the biggest problem for the Saints? Is it offense or is it defense? Y'all answer that for me. What's the biggest problem the Saints face? Is it the offense or defense? Is it the biggest problem our offense or is it our defense? Which one of those are the worst to you? Y'all let me know. Pelicans Nola says the reason why the Saints draft has been so bad is because they're reaching for players at the position of need instead of drafting the best players available. Usually when you're like that, that's what happens. Best players available, you get the right guy. And to be honest with you, there are a lot of needs for the Saints. So if you have Ty Warren, the tight end from Penn State, falls to you at 9. Ted McMillan, the best wide receiver in the draft, if he gets to you at 9. One of the best offensive tackles or whatever falls to you at 9. You're going to get a really good player at 9. It's just about what the Saints and Kellen Moore sees, because he has to look at this team and he has to quickly decide on what he needs going forward and building the team. What are the things? How do you figure that out? You're going to look at the stats and look at this. Well, we didn't do this. And all indications, Kellen Moore starred with your defense and offensive line. That's what you do. That's what the hell you do. Start there first. All right. So yeah, draft reaching for players. Yeah, the Saints to do that. Sean Payton would have done that too. Under Dennis Allen, he had some flubs too. Reaching, Payton reached for Peyton Turner. Peyton Turner was, you might as well call him a bust because he did exactly what Davenport did, which is nothing. Isaiah Foskey is going into his third year and he hasn't done anything. He got like a half a sack, and this coming from a guy that is the sack master for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. How do you go from a sack master of Notre Dame, which is not exactly a bum ass school, to being a half a sack dude on the New Orleans Saints? The answer is you don't get an opportunity to play. And when you do get spot duty, you don't do anything with it. That's how that shit go. You hear me? All right, 504 Coach says, Q, I want us to draft McMillan. Okay, at 9, this kid special reminds me of Larry. I agree. The guy's awesome. I don't know if he's there at 9, bro. Might need to go up and get him. We'll see. All right, Youngblood says, Q, do you think the Saints will re-sign Marquez Valdez-Scantling? He could help that receiving core. I would absolutely love that, bro. I would love that. I've said that before. And it won't be expensive to sign MBS. He's from down here. I think he's from Mandeville. But it would be awesome to bring him back, because if you have MBS and Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, I know those guys are coming off of injuries, but you got to look at it. A lot of what was going on with the Saints, they had them guys doing stuff they wasn't supposed to do. Like I said, going back to it, because sometimes people forget this, Clint Kubiak was not using his personnel correctly. He was overusing guys and doing stuff. You see what I'm saying? And the fact that you had Chris Olave as the one. Now, listen, Chris Olave is a very good wide receiver, but he looks better if he was next to an MVS, right? And MVS is a 6'4" wide receiver that can trek upfield. He got speed. He could take the top off the defense. Just imagine him complimenting Chris Olave, who's back in his 2 role, and then you have Rashid, who's in the slot, matched up against the third cornerback. The Saints have 3 receivers with high speed that can take tops off defenses. You just need a quarterback that can get them the ball. They can take the top off the defense. They can spread, they can stretch out the defense, and then that gives Alvin Kamara space to operate. When you have wide receivers moving around, that creates space for AK-41 to move around and do his thing, being the satellite back that he is. So it'll be a cheap signing, much like the Clyde Edwards-Helaire signing, because I really don't forget he's back here too, which could spell trouble for some of them other guys, perhaps a Jamal Williams. You know, Jamal Williams hadn't done nothing since he's been here. Now, like I said, I like Jamal Williams, but in the end, they can save that money. He hadn't tore up nothing. Only thing I know from Jamal Williams is Pokemon, and he got cats and he got Pokemon cards. None of which helps us win any effing games. Let's just get out of it. I'll make that clear. Yeah, I appreciate you like cats. Okay. I get that. I appreciate the fact that you like Pokemon and anime. None of which helps us win any football games. I'm sorry, it don't. All right, but thank you, bro. I would love that, man. And then that gives you the ability to focus on something else. You can focus on something else with those draft picks, right? That's what it's about. MVS will be a quality signing for your team. He will look different next to Chris Olave. He will look different with Rashid Shaheed. He will look different here. He fits what you got going on. He is the tall, big wide receiver that you need for that size. And remember, the Saints was supposed to do that before. Last year, when the season was started, they tried to go to MVS. He told them no, and the Saints didn't go for that template. What they did was they said, oh, well, we're going to just settle for Cedric Wilson Jr. And look how that played. Cedric Wilson Jr. was hurt. And then when he finally played, he had minimal impact. Severely minimal impact. He really didn't do too much of anything for the Saints. I mean, he had a few blocks in there. He made a few pass catches, all very forgettable stuff. So that's a huge drop, in my opinion, from an MVS to a Cedric Wilson Jr., man. No disrespect. I laugh. Hey, man, no disrespect to Cedric Wilson Jr., but dude, you got to go, man. You got to go. And I agree with the writer. What the writer's saying about improving the wide receiver room. We did get a few wide receivers there that also, showed some promise. We've seen Mason Tipton do some stuff and then not so much. But Mason Tipton, with the right imagination, he's a good wide receiver that can help you. He's got the speed. The Saints just at times did not use these guys in a way that was beneficial to their strengths. You take a guy and you go up in there. No, you have to be able to create a situation where these guys can go in and use their talents to help you win. And a lot of times with the backups, the Saints didn't do that. They was almost like slotting them in, like it was cookie cutter to a degree. So that's my thought. But I would love to have MBS back like we saw at Clown. That was hilarious. I think those guys should be resigned because it'll be inexpensive to get them back. And that gives you the ability to then focus draft capital on other spots like the offensive line, defensive line, tight end position. We could use a tight end, Ty Warren or the kid from Bowling Green. These guys would be excellent pickups for the Saints because you need a tight end of the future because you're going to have a young quarterback or another quarterback here. You need that safety blanket as well. So, yeah, we'll see what they got going on because I have absolutely no idea what Kellen Moore is looking for. I have no idea, bro. I can say this and he can go in a different direction. He might feel the Saints offensive line is good. And in which case he will learn fast that it's not that good, man. We are not as good as you think we are. Pelicans Nola says, Q, what is going on? He says, what is this going to take for the Saints to move up in the draft and select Mason Graham? Oh, the big defensive tackle from Michigan. There's a table that you can research in the NFL circles where you look up the trade table, NFL trade table, and it shows you the formula. Each one of them has a formula that tells you how many picks that you would need to move up to a first round, not a first round, a first pick or a second pick or a third pick, something like that. They have a formula system already embedded where, they'll tell you to move from this position, you need to go up to this position, you need these amount of picks, that kind of stuff. It's a trade formula that's currently out that'll break all that down. But that guy's seen as a top 5 guy. I don't know if he'll get anywhere close to us. KT says, Q, have you been looking for the big safety from South Carolina? The big safety from South Carolina. Yeah, I heard about him, KT. I have not been able to look up his film, but I will. Oh, no, you mean, is it South Carolina or East Carolina? Is it South Carolina? I think I'm mixing up the other guy. The other guy is a cornerback. Hold on, KT. I think I know. I'm mixing up. See, there was two defensive backs. One from, I think, East Carolina, who's a cornerback, big guy. He's like 6'3", or something like that, real long and lanky, who's actually pretty decent. And then there is the other guy from South Carolina. Let me see what his name is, man. Let me see. Yeah, hold on. Oh, yeah, Nick. What's his name? Hold on. I had it here. Damn ads here getting in the way. I can't pronounce his name, man, but I see who you're talking about. It's Nick. Oh, man, I can't pronounce that name. It starts with an E. Yeah, I'm up there. Yeah, Nick Iman Wari. Damn, it's 2 M's there. Iman Wari. Is that what it is? Nick Iman Wari? Yeah. I don't think he's the top safety. Some of them, they're saying that he's one of the top safeties. Yeah, he's one of the top safeties. I like the guy from Notre Dame. I like how he plays. But they got him listed high there. He's in the top 50 prospects they got here listed. Okay, I'm gonna look him up, KT. I heard about that guy, man. Matter of fact, I seen him play in the SEC, but I don't know enough to comment on it, bro. So I'm gonna take a look at it. Did you send me that, KT? Did you send me that breakdown, bro? I'm gonna have to look at it because you sent me a bunch of them, bro. I was looking at some of them this morning, and then then I got busy doing other stuff. But yeah. All right. OG Jerry chastising Mickey Loomis in the chat. People mad at Mickey Loomis, and he did it to himself. I'm glad people mad at Mickey Loomis. I'm glad he mad at his ass. Good. And let him fix all this sitting up here. We'd have been long into the rebuild if you'd have listened to us. He's sitting up here pretending like people don't know what they're talking about when they are. That's the game. That's why that's why all the progress is late, is because these guys were sitting up here perpetrating the fraud. That's what they were doing. Sitting up here pretending like they knew what they was doing, and they just straight up failing. That was the frustrating part for me all day. I'm gonna check them out, KT, bro. Thank you. I want to say, I don't know if you sent me that guy, because there's a bunch of them. KT got a bunch of them I'm looking at right now, man. Yeah. All right. Byron says, Q, 3 positions our team, 3 picks that we need. I would have to say, bro, it depends on who fall at, but I would focus on the offensive line and defensive lines, and be honest with you. I do like a lot of these players. I do like Ted McMillan. I do like Ty Warren. I do like some of these cornerbacks and safeties that they have out there. But in the end, I think trenches is where we should go. And I think we would be able to get one of the top 2 or 3 best offensive linemen in the draft at 9 if we stay there. We can be able to find our left guard of the future, because we need a guard at that position for the future. If we have Kevin Banks Jr. from Texas that fall there, I'll draft him, put him at the left guard position, because he can play guard. That guy's pencil him in. He'll be a dominating force for 10 years, sitting right next to Tyler Fuaga, and after that, defensively, I'll be looking to improve interiorly speaking, try to see if I can find me somebody there to kind of help. But like I said, based on whatever Staley's doing, you ain't gonna have a 4-man front. You might have a 3 if that's the case. You don't have a nose tackle there. That's not Bink Saunders. So somebody got to go. I would not dare put Bink Saunders in some 3-4 defense or any representation of that type of look, a 3-downman look. I wouldn't dare put him as a nose tackle there. I wouldn't dare do that. He couldn't even handle what he was doing when we was playing 4-down. No disrespect, brother. But tape is king, man. In the NFL, tape is king. You can't escape that. He just wasn't dominant enough. So if you put him in make him like the heart of the interior defensive line, no, we need a massive nose tackle. They don't like to talk about nose tackles. You need a massive human to go there. A guy that can always just command a double team, help out the other guys, because that's how it's got to be. You need a massive human being at the nose tackle. You need 2 of them, matter of fact. You might want to get one early and one late. You're going to need nose tackles, not tweeners, or guys that can play this and play that, and you trying to operate with a defense and say, yeah, we get the most out of them because we get them to do this, that, and there. The hell with that. No, we need to go back to specific actions in terms of some of these guys. We might have a couple of guys that have some versatility, but other guys, we don't need that. They need to be good at one thing. That's commanding a double team. That's not Saunders. That's not Shepard. So if that is the scheme, those guys got to go. So I would focus on my offense, my offensive line, and my defensive lines. Getting stronger in the middle of both those those units. And then perhaps, you start looking at your skill guys. Like, we can use a tight end of the future. We can use some help, in the cornerback situation. We could use there based on the cuts. Is Matthew going to take a pay cut, or we got to put him in the street? So all that is also factored in. But like I said, you got to start from inside out. And if they do that, that's the foundation. But we can't sit up here and pretend like we got these guys, they're better than what they are because we like these guys. We have to be real. You know what I mean? We have to keep it real, man. We have to keep it real about these guys. I'm not overflating these guys' talents. I know what I watch. Yeah, he says, yeah. Yeah, he says Jamal can go. Yeah, he get him and his Pokemon cards and his cats. No disrespect. But Jamal Williams is one of the worst signings that we had in a while since Marcus May was here. I mean, we got Harris. Will Harris came in and totally made us forget about the money we paid for Marcus May. Remember Marcus May? All that crap we had to go through with him. And Harris comes here and he should be re-signed too. You bring him back too, he should be re-signed. He did really well for the Saints last year. So MBS, they already signed Clyde back. Clyde's here, so you probably will see Jamal Williams get cut. You probably gonna see him. A lot of people ain't talking about that, but Jamal Williams is not gonna make it here. And they're gonna focus on Kendre Miller, and they can find a younger, cheaper back in the draft, or even an undrafted. We find an undrafted guy to replace Jamal Williams in the lineup. He lost his position to Kendre Miller. You can't. He making more money than Ken. No, you got to go, brother. Maybe you can go back to Detroit and see if he can get his stats up. But he's been a disaster. Now it's not his fault, not totally, because how they used him. Once again, it's these guys that had no imagination how to use these guys. It's a big difference. Detroit had that man up there 3 years ago, and he had 17 rushing touchdowns and 1,000 yards. And then he comes to the Saints in 2 years, and I doubt he has 4 rushing touchdowns in 2 years. It's all about how you use these guys. It's all about usage. That's a great example, by the way, too. All right. But yeah, that's big, man. Yeah, there you go. There you go, Byron. Byron got him right there. That's him. The safety. I ain't gonna even do that. What's up, 985J in the building? What's up, brother, man? How you doing? Colorado, shout out to you, man. Appreciate you. How your day going? I'm gonna beat you to it. Beat him to it. How your day going, Colorado? How you doing? It's raining. It's raining over here, man. It's raining. Jack says, why not go? Why go to a 34? Because running backs get to the second level fast already. Well, they won't get to that second level if you're 34 built correctly. See, the 34 built around speed. The linebackers have to have duality to them. They have to be able to blitz and drop into coverage to cover up things. You know, you got guys that they have to do their jobs. They got to cover up these athletic tight ends. They got to watch out for the running backs. But a lot of the emphasis is put on the inside guys to help with the run support. And then really they position it like the outside linebackers of the 3-4 system of guys that are going to be blitzed. That's not exactly true. All 4 linebackers are going to be used in run support as well as blitzing, because you'll blitz these guys from different angles and all this kind of stuff. They'll help in run support, but it puts a lot of pressure on the front 3 guys. The front 3 guys have 5 guys they're going against. So somebody got to commit a double team. 2 guys got to actually demand a double team for the Saints defensive line. You get what I'm saying? 2 of those guys have to be massively a force so that they get blocked by 2. So 3, as the math is funny, but if you have disruptive guys there, 2 of your 3 will command a double team, which then you'll have your one guy against it. So it kind of equates if ran correctly. And if that's done correctly, it frees the linebackers up to roam around, drop into coverage, to blitz, to do this type of stuff. If that's not how it's built, you're going to have problems. But then again, the Saints have problems running a 43 defense. It's going to be it's going to be a bit of a culture shock if that's what Staley's going to do. So we'll see what's going on, man. We'll see. We got plenty of time to figure it out. But you're right. If the 34 defense ran correctly, they're not supposed to get to the second level. If a 43s ran correctly, they're not supposed to get to the second level. Right. AKS says, yeah, Marcus, yeah, he was a disaster. See, I don't forget all that, man, because that's what's been going on. They've been sitting up here perpetrating a fraud for years and wasting time. Talking about, I believe this team could win. Oh, well, this Dennis Allen's a good coach. Oh, yeah, Bob Walsh, 17, all this stupidness. And then gets up there and says, I don't know. You've given opportunity to him to apologize for comments about, no, that's not true. I feel the same way. Dennis Allen's a great coach. The guy is a joke. It's a joke. Just stupidly, arrogantly, foolishly, and blindly stand to stupid back-ass rhetoric. It's just, you just lose all confidence. And that's why Mickey Loomis is a joke and a walking clown to the Who Dat Nation. You can't do that. You have to recognize logic and reasoning. You cannot sit up there and pretend like what you're looking at doesn't exist. Now listen, in this weird back ass world, they'll use propaganda to try to tell you that something is not what it is when it actually is what it is. You get what I'm saying? That happens all the time. That's called propaganda. A lot of times that's called yellow journalism. When guys are paid to push a narrative, despite the fact that you come in with facts, they'll still push a narrative because they're in connection with the people that are paying them to do it, because it bodes well in their favor to have an outcome that is more favorable for the team so they can continue to make money off of you. My narrative of me saying hold up and wait until what they give you is one thing. My narrative of saying boycott the Saints until they fire Greg Bensel for what he was doing with the Catholic Church is another thing. And don't give them your money until they prove that they felt like they were wrong, as opposed to some half-ass apology. That's my thought process. They're not going to go for that because they can't get money off you that way. You see? So it's a lot of stuff that's going. It's all of just being about being smart about stuff, man. You know, I got love for my football, but at the end of the day, that don't usurp my morals, my integrity. It doesn't. Hell no, it don't. It don't do that at all, and it's not supposed to. All right, big ups to y'all, man. Jaden says, Q, if Willie Green, he brung it to the Pelicans, is not fired after this season is over, I'm going to explode. I did love this little playoff run we had in 2022 versus Suns that year, but I can't take this anymore. He has to go. Don't lose your mind, brother, because they damn sure are not. It's the Saints and the Pelicans have the same problem. The Pelicans don't have any accountability. Guys can make bad calls and not pay for it. They can do it because you got an owner that don't know shit from Shinola. She just a brand ambassador, which the veneer of that is ripping away because of the ugliness of the scandal that's tied to the church. Then it reigns true in your mind about what Gail Benson's when Benson's daughters were saying. Y'all go back and look that up. Go back and look that up. And this is all a contrived publicity stunt, similar what they did with Warren Buffett when they had pictures of him with ice cream cones. Just put pictures of Warren Buffett with ice cream cones. It was a propaganda technique to soften his image. They do this all the time. That's almost like somebody holding coffee cups in commercials, and you know you ain't got no goddamn coffee in it. But this is how they play. This is how they do. You know, to soften the images. There's a whole mechanism that's created around these people to create an image of them that's not real. You know, you just gotta stick to what you know. But yeah, don't lose your mind on none of that, man. These people are wretched. They sit up here and complain about injuries all the time, both Saints and Pelicans, and signing deals with Ashina's sports side, which is not helping at all stop these injuries. Not at all, not in the slightest. And they've been doing this for years. So if you were really serious about fixing the injury situation, you wouldn't re-up with contracts with people who ain't helping you fix it. That's commonsensically. And am I right here? I'm just being honest, man. You don't go in that direction. If you realize that if you having your injuries are worse than what they were before, and this is happening year after year, then you change what you got going on there. You don't keep the same stuff going on over and over again unless you're playing games. So it is what it is, man. Just real talk here, real spill. All right, thank you, KT, for the super chat, man. Say which nose tackle would you draft, Walker or Grant? I would take Deion Walker, bro. I like Deion Walker. Big guy, mean, strong, a disruptive mess. You know, that's what I would take. And if I could get, and you probably won't be able to get both of those guys, but you're going to probably need two of them. The Saints did draft Christian Boyd. If y'all remember him, Christian Boyd from, what was it? Northern Iowa, I think it was. Remember him? And he really didn't do too much. So he didn't get an opportunity to play that much. But Christian Boyd's a guy that the Saints draft. He's 6'2", 320 something pounds, you know, but in the end, it is what it is. All right. My dog KT sending. He got a couple of more sent to me. All right, thank you, KT.
Thank you very much.
All right, appreciate you, bro. What's up, Professor? Shout out to Professor. He says Grant is better than Walker. I like Deion Walker. I like Deion Walker. Thank you, Professor, for that. The Professor likes Grant over him. All right, what's up, brother Larry? How you doing, sir? Nola Bars is in this thing. Much love. Nola Bars TV. Big ups to you, fam. Appreciate y'all as well. Yeah, and KT also says, would you bring MBS? But he says, why would bring MBS, but I would still go younger at the receiver Pat Bryant, Caden Prather. Okay, yeah, I seen him. Daquan Felton, Savion Williams. Everybody loves Savion Williams. Jaden Higgins is good. I don't know if we can get Tet McMillan. That we might have to go up to get him, to be honest. If you can land Tet McMillan, bro, I think you have to go up to get him. I don't know if he'll be there at 9, but you never know. You never know. A lot of the mock drafts I was looking at, Tet McMillan always goes a pick or two before we get to where we is, but we always are set for Ty Warren. We always set for one of the two offensive tackles. If it's not Will Campbell from LSU, it's Banks Jr. from Texas. It's either one of those guys. So you will have an opportunity to have a top 1 or 2 offensive linemen at 9. The top tight end in the draft could be there. 1 or 2 of the top defensive backs could be there. You'll have your picks at probably the second or third best, at least the second best defensive in there. You won't get Carter. Carter will be he'll be going already, but outside of that, man, you at 9 is a good spot. You know, you can find talent there, but if you know what you're doing, you can find talent anywhere, to be honest with you. But yeah, that'll be pretty awesome. All right, Nola says, what you say there? He said, what they say, nah, Q. What you mean, bro? David says they traded away Ingram and should have sent Zion off and build around him. Nah, you gotta remember, bro. When you the Pelicans, you need a draw. You need a draw. Brandon Ingram ain't the draw. You need a guy that's gonna draw. You need a superstar. The draw to the team. Zion is doing good. It's just they have him under minute restriction. He played like 27 minutes. He's doing scoring and doing his thing, but they have a permanent minute restriction they have on him for this year. And that's what he's doing. Trey Murphy has arrived, and that's why Ingram had to go. Trey Murphy is really good, man. He is better next to Zion than BI is because he's the 3-point shooter. Zion's gravity pulls these guys away. It gives Trey wide open shots. And as long as they keep building around their philosophy, they should have success. But granted this, for the team to go to the next level, they have to get rid of Willie Green. Willie Green is not a good schematic coach. He's a cool person, but he is not learning and getting better as a coach. And he needs to go. But you got David Griffin over the team, and that would mean for him to fire Willie Green, that would be 4 coaches. That would be 4 coaches in 6 years under his supposed, what do you call it? This UN word, sustainability garbage that he likes to talk about, which includes no winning seasons. 2 winning seasons in 6 years since he's been here, a sub 500 record as a VP. They don't look at that, man. You got to have these guys on the timeline. And then if they're not winning, you get rid of these guys and you find somebody else. That's how it's supposed to. You're not supposed to let these people sit up here and make excuses and mistake after mistake and not be penalized for it. Well, you got a dumb owner like Gail. That's exactly what you're going to get. She doesn't know anything. All right. Anyway, GM Kev's in the building says build both lines up when you can stop the run. It will be, he says, stop the run, it would be a long day. Both lines, I agree with you. All right. So yeah, I would definitely agree. Building both lines. I've been saying build from the inside out, fam. That's my talking point on that. When we talk about draft and going forward and that kind of stuff, building from the inside out. The Saints offensive line isn't as good as you think, and neither is the defensive line. The stats bear it. The Saints get ran on too much. They don't stop the run enough. And the Saints offense don't run the ball enough. It's forced to create all these passes when they have to do extension plays and all that. The offensive line is not opening up lanes for Elvin to run. He had all these dozens of these tough 1 yard or 2 yard runs where he hit a hole, the hole will open up a little bit and close as fast as it hit, and then he hits the hole and gets a tough 2 yards. Doing all that, then he'll have one of these games where he'll have 15 or 16 rushes for like 50 yards. You know, he had a bunch of those type of games. And I just find that just really annoying. You know, I find that really annoying. But anyway, let's do this, fam. We're going to close out the show here. with this interview from Cam Jordan that he did on the Saints Row. This is something that popped up with Cam Jordan, his thoughts on the Saints going forward. And let me play this for you. It's not very long. It's like about we ain't gonna play. I'm gonna play about maybe 10 or 15 minutes of it, maybe 10 minutes of it. But this is Cam Jordan's thought on the Saints season. If y'all ain't hear it, here you go. Put one in the chat if you can hear it.
Off with Cam Jordan.
Seems like you're ready.
Oh, we got singing. Love it.
Well, welcome in Cam Jordan to the New Orleans Saints podcast.
Indeed.
How
I
you
can be
doing?
Cam Jordan today. I'm feeling very vibrant. I'm feeling blessed to be alive. I'm feeling happy that I'm here. And I'm mad that I'm not here in the capacity that I want to be in.
Sure. You definitely talked about that starting the season, but we're going to be going through some changes.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Well, clearly we have to. We've got some vacancies. So, I mean, there's still, I think Darren Rizzi's still in the conversation. I've heard guys like Kellen Moore's name, Anthony Weaver, somebody else dropped out of it. I mean, we are the last spot open. So, like, I mean, I thought we would have our pickings. I don't know. Wishful thinking, maybe? I don't know.
Why are you so passionate about this team and where we're at?
Because this is a spot that I've never been in before. So, when Sean decided to leave us, and that turned into DA taking over, which now it was comfortable. It was being comfortable in our own zone. It was knowing that he was a great defensive coordinator. It was knowing that with his defense we could do a lot of things. And then you could sort of lead a team at that. You would have hoped that we probably got a OC that meshed better. Either year, I guess, and then we would have definitely hoped that our players would have been healthier the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
Yeah.
I mean, it sort of sucked that it sort of falls on DA when if you would have came out with the same healthy team that we saw weeks 1 and 2 through 17, it would have been a different season. But here we are, two losing seasons doesn't sit well with the fans, doesn't sit well with Mrs. B. Gail.
Let me say this, man. This is a talking point that they all hypnotize these players with. They tell them that it's the reality is you're rarely going to start the season and end the season with the same players that you have. So it don't suck for Dennis Allen at all. Dennis Allen had access to all of the resources of the Saints organization. He could have went out there and constructed this team to be stronger. And it became later on the talking point that they mentioned the fact that they have to build. And this is something they said about constructing a roster. And, and this is something David Griffin said to be, to fortify the roster to deal with injuries. Well, what the hell have you been doing for these years? That's what you're supposed to do when you come in and you build rosters. You're supposed to build the roster strong enough so it can absorb as many injuries as it possibly can. Then you utilize other things like trades and all that. The problem is you don't have a general manager that's active. That guy sits on his hands. When people were prodding and poking and telling him to make moves, he was sitting there denying that everything was worse than what it was. You had people, literally the players and coaches and the administrators, in an absolute unmitigated state of denial about what the Saints were as an organization. And Mickey Loomis reportedly was telling candidates at the time when he was hiring them what he was telling you in terms of the Saints being a competing team or a team that can be in the playoffs or whatever he was saying, telling the candidates that, it's somewhat of a rebuild going on. So you got a fork-tongued devil operating here. So at the end of the day, when you talk about injuries, miss me with them damn injuries, bro. Yeah, we're not hearing all of that because we know better than to sit up here and let you spin excuse. We had the same team we had when we started week 1 and weeks 2. Well, guess what? That's not reality. These players are not going to play in a physical game like the NFL and be there weeks 1 all the way to week 18 or wherever the hell it is, and then play in the playoffs. You have to construct the roster to be able to be as tough as it possibly can. And the only way you can do that is having some vision and forethought and not being in a state of delusion about who you are as a team. That's that real, man.
Things had to change.
When you take a look at that, I mean, when you look at the season, obviously injuries, the first thing that happens. If I'm a fan, I'm listening right now. They're like, oh, it's the players, it's the medical staff, it's the doctors. How do you explain that, man? It's nuts.
Just
look at this asshole. Sit up here talking. It's nuts. It's the medical staff. What else is it? The medical staff, it has to, because this is all data, man. They having you, what is it, spooky apparitions moving around with a pair of scissors cutting the hamstrings? Who's responsible for the health of the players if it's not the players and the team? They got all of the data. They have access to millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. This healthcare apparition is worth billions of dollars. And you mean to tell me you can't get the most out of your football team? If you got players that's consistently getting hurt, we need to get them players out of here. You mean to tell me you can't figure out a way to fix this, to get it better? That you just at the complete dominance of it. You can't do nothing. How do you explain that to these other teams, huh? How do you have these other teams that have injuries, but they still win? And then the players sit up here and they SD these guys, they gloss these guys and sit up here and keep this narrative. That's why I can't play games with these guys. I'm too real for that. These guys sit up here and they play games because they're collecting checks, they're getting paid to spin narratives, and I just destroy the narrative with the truth. The fact is, if you spending tens of millions of dollars on health, you got a whole 47 hospital system worth tens of billions, if not trillions of dollars. That's almost like it's almost like a medical version of Walmart. That's what Oshna is in this region. It consumes and eats other hospitals. It really does. It done took over. These people making billions of dollars. You mean to tell me there is no way that you can slow these injuries and every year they getting worse? Get out of here with that. You can't tell me that. But we're just at the absolute unmitigated mercy of the injuries, and it's the health staff. It's just what it is.
It's an unlucky streak. You think about the NFL, people are going to get hurt.
It's going to happen.
That is the nature of the game.
So
the Lions team.
So build your damn team to absorb the injury. See, this justification of failure. The excuse is that's an excuse. There's an answer for everything. So Cam Jordan, it wasn't Dennis Allen sorry ass building this roster wrong, right? Him not doing what he's supposed to do in terms of keeping you guys on game, because they always blame the injuries. This team had enough players where they can win more than 5 games with it. Not all of their players was missing for the totality of the year. They had guys that were there. Even when we got McCoy back from injury and they got Lucas and them other guys back, they still was losing games. Explain that to me. Even with guys were there, the Saints still were losing them games. They still was turning the ball over. So these guys sit up here and they don't tell you about the false starts, the penalties, the stupidness, them not being prepared to play. They just blame it all on injuries like they do every year when you fail. But let me ask you about the false starts, brother. How about the penalties, the dumb stuff that y'all did, the fact that you dropped interceptions and all this other kind of madness, the ill-prepared nature of the team, the fact that these guys wasn't accountable and still not accountable? Where was that at? It's just, oh no, it was all about that. Because if we stayed the same, man, you know that's not going to happen. Everybody incurs injuries. That's nothing new. They've been dealing with this for 50 damn years. Get out of here with that crap.
For evidence of it.
Man, I mean, they were gutted by the time they hit playoffs.
Yeah.
They lost Aiden Hutchinson. They lost a safety. They lost a linebacker. Alex Anzalone broke his arm and then it came back from it. Yeah. You have to be able to overcome those injuries, and hopefully your marquee players never do get injured. Mm-hmm. If you would have looked at Pat Mahomes, if Pat Mahomes gets hurt for a few games, knock on wood, how does his team fare? Yeah. They won't be 15-2.
No.
Everybody's health staff is different too. That's a whole nother point you look at. The health staffs for these different people is with the Kansas City Chief health staff they're dealing with is different from the Saints. They still deal with injuries. They still had wide receivers that were hurt. They still had running backs that were hurt. Patrick Mahomes did deal with injury. He wasn't knocked out for the year, but obviously it tells you it's not just luck, and you know better than that. You know better. It's not just luck that's tied to this. It's preparation and guys doing what they're supposed to do to stay as durable as they possibly can. It's all about putting in the time. You know you're going to get banged up at some point, but at the end of the day, I say to that is the Saints were not missing a lot of these players for all these games. There were games where the Saints had enough personnel to win and they lost. They had enough personnel and they were losing. They were missing tackles. They were turning the ball over. They were ill prepared to play. There were games where the Saints came out and they didn't even look like they deserved to be on the field. What about those games, Cam? You want to talk about that shit? What about those games?
So let's just be clear. Your marquee players have to be healthy. If you had a healthy Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, a healthy Taysom Hill the entire season, a healthy Cesar Ruiz.
Or you'd had a Chris Olave, a healthy Chris Olave, if Carr wouldn't have threw him a hospital ball. So isn't that on him?
Eric McCoy, Jawan Johnson, Derek Carr.
You had Jawan Johnson for the majority of the season. You had Derek Carr for at least, what was it, about half the year? But even when Derek Carr was in there, you still needed a running tack to balance the team off. We had got McCoy back after 7 or 8 games, and the games where he played before he got hurt again, the Saints couldn't still run the ball. And they had their offensive line complete for the first time since that week 3 first series. They still could not run the ball effectively. They still were inconsistent. So, miss me with all of this stuff, man.
2 different times.
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara missed 3 games. If you have all your guys healthy, I'd like to put R11 versus
Kamara missed most of them games on the back end of the season, man.
anybody.
And I go there and I ask that because is that probably the quickest reason, the quickest way that the New Orleans Saints will be a playoff contending team again?
For everybody to be healthy?
Just be healthy.
That's crazy how that would work. Yeah, absolutely. Because, you look on the defensive side.
These dudes good at telling fairy tales, man. That's never gonna happen, man. That's a stupid point, man. That never gonna
Matthew, we lost 2 of our starting DBs.
Mm-hmm.
Marshawn Lattimore at the beginning of the season and Paulson Adebo, and then
we was missing Laddy Daddy for last year too, man. We have to make an adjustment. We had first-round draft picks in Kool-Aid McKinstry. Alontae Taylor was a high guy that came in and stepped up. These guys pretend like they ain't no such thing as a depth chart.
we're literally bringing guys up as we're going.
That's what you're supposed to do.
It's hard to win that way.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take your check then, bro. Get the hell off the team and go commentate games if it's hard to win. We don't want to hear about it's hard to win. Just go and do it. How about that? Don't complain about nothing. It's hard. Just do it, man. It's hard to win in injuries. I don't want to hear this type of stuff, man.
I was like, even Will, our other safety opposite of Tyron, got hurt.
Yeah.
So I was like, and he was playing stellar for a second, and then got hurt and came back and was playing good, and then got hurt and came back.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise. It's hard to stay healthy in this league.
Yeah.
It is, but
They go to it's talking about Cam Jordan, man. Cam Jordan found a way to stay healthy, but a good summation of his career. Based on other players, he found a way to stay healthy. So did Demario Davis. These guys didn't miss a lot of games. Certain guys do miss time. And why? Is it because some mythical guy running around the injury guard, knocking people around and say, this is your time to get hurt? No. The reality is some guys are prepared. There's some guys do more preparation than others. There's some guys, there's different levels to it. They'll tell you that. Like, how could a guy like LeBron James in his 40s still be playing in the NBA and outballing guys that he's 20 years younger than? How could he still be even doing that? Because he puts a lot of money into his body and his preparation. He goes above and beyond in his preparation. Some guys don't do that. That's the real deal. These preparation things ain't even the same, bro. You can't tell me that. Because a guy that's serious about his craft is going to be serious about his body. He's going to go above and beyond because that's how he make his money. We've seen players in these physical leagues, they get hurt, but they get hurt far lesser than these other guys that don't. And then at the end of the day, as a football team, injuries is nothing new to you. You're going to have injuries because it's physical. The crazy part about it is they'll say this thing, the same stuff that he just said, they'll say that shit year after year after year after year. The crazy part about it is even if you have injuries and you still win, they won't say that. They only use it. And this is Cam Jordan right here sitting up here talking and using excuses, not the fact that they were ill prepared to play, not the fact that you had a dumb coach on top of the team who's sacrificed, throwing his team under the bus and not a good head coach at all. There's no accountability there. Guys are not being held to a standard to perform at a high level. None of that's made mention of. is blamed on the injuries because he's not trying to blame it on nobody else. He's not trying to point the finger where it's supposed to be, like where Mickey Loomis at for building this team in a poor manner, where if you lose some of your starters, you start immediately losing. Even though I've seen NFL and NBA teams that win games until their starters get back. That's the name of the game. But reporters are playing the game because they're getting paid the check to do it.
And usually the kind of luck that we had doesn't happen like that.
Right.
So we got it out of our
What's this
system
luck
this past
stuff?
year.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Like you can't have 80% of your starters gutted. Like, golly.
Yeah.
Which gives me nothing but hope for the future. When I think about how we're going to progress and how we go forward, we have pieces that we want to use. We have the ability to create plays, and guys like Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and AK, and even Kendre Miller when healthy.
Yeah.
Taysom Hill when healthy.
If you didn't overuse Taysom Hill like Clint Kubiak did, he would have been healthy. If you know how to spread it around and give it to other players, it wouldn't have been that case. From my recollection, Chris Olave got hurt badly because Derek Carr threw a ball that it wasn't supposed to be, and then said that he had nothing to do with it. I didn't. I don't know what they're talking about. It's just insane. And Derek Carr, his injury. Well, Derek Carr tried to dive over his wide receiver and went face first into the ground. He hurt himself. Dived face first and gave us. Oh my God. He got a face full of turf. He tongue kissed the turf monster. That's what happened. And he lost. So it's just, man, get out of here, Cam, with this bullshit. We're gonna have to put you in the street, man. Take these excuses with you, man. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. See, it is. See, the thing is, man, it's with me, and maybe I'm a little different than most. Matter of fact, I know I am, because I don't care who's saying this stuff. I don't care if it's the president. I don't care if it's the owner of the team. I don't care who it is. We know why the team failed, and it wasn't exclusively about injuries. They had injuries to the team, yes, indeed. But the Saints injury situation, the Pelicans situation, because it's the same medical staff, has been happening for years. So you keep sitting up here talking about injuries, and they keep signing the same health staffs and keep running the same people. They're not serious about none of this stuff. How you sit up and complain about injuries? Because they can blame the shit and not be accountable. There was bad preparation this year with the Saints. The Saints were not prepared to play in many of these games. I sat here like you did and watched all of these games. I did the play-by-play on all of these games. And I remember what happened. So for him to say this, that, and the third, I remember the shitty play calling the Saints were doing with Clint Kubiak up there. I remember that. I remember the non-imaginative garbage overusage of Taysom Hill, the misuse of guys like Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, the inability to use other players as the backups that's on the team that's active to take pressure off of the starters, the inability to do it. The inability to check these garbage ass players when they were dropping passes, blowing blocks, not knowing their playbook and their assignments, as opposed to talk about their phenomenal. Where was that at? See, it goes deeper than injuries. In many of these games, when the Saints had their players, they still were losing it. And how do you explain that? Well, you look at the Saints penalty stats and see how terrible they were. Well, how do you explain that? They don't. They won't, because they're not serious. So until, like I said, it's time for these guys to go, man. I want these guys out of here. I'm sorry. If we have to have an environment of accountability and sit up here blaming injuries when you know it was bad preparation that's tied to that, and reporters sitting up here talking about health staffs, they sit up here and listen to all these shows. That's where they get the talking point from. But it don't make you look good to look like a glazer. And you know what I'm talking about. It don't make you good to sit up there and glaze the Saints and these people to collecting checks. It takes away from you as a reporter supposed to be telling the truth. But that's why Saints hire certain reporters, because they're not going to tell you the truth. They're not paid to tell you the truth. They paid to spin a narrative to keep you going back to them spending money. That's the reality. I don't get a damn thing from the Saints. I don't want nothing from the Saints. At the end of the day, all I'm going to do is continue to keep it real. And if these players sit up here, and I told y'all, let's to check the players movement, man. We checking these players. DeMario Davis with all this keeping faith stuff with no fates, when faith without works is dead, bro. You ain't done shit out here for the last 4 years to be telling people to keep faith. And then Cam Jordan sit up here. Hopefully we'll be able to, hope ain't got nothing to do with this, man. You either do it or you don't do it. You don't go into this stuff with doubt in your mind. If you're a champion, there is no thoughts of failure if you're a champion. If you're a person that's really about what you're about, there is no doubt in your mind that you will succeed, regardless of what you got to go through. You know there are going to be obstacles, and if you're going through life anywhere, in any place, there are going to be obstacles for you to make it through, because that's how we get better as a person, as a team. The obstacles will be there. So there ain't no hope. There is none of that garbage. It's only the idea and the mindset that I'm going to win regardless of what I'm going to face. And that's a champion. That's the heart of a champion, not whatever this dude talking about. This dude is a perennial loser sitting up here placating to injuries. The last 4 years, the Saints have failed, but in making it to even the postseason, outside of that, all they've done is consistently and successfully is make money off of a very loyal family and support base. They even raised the prices up on their tickets, and they fallen through the floor in one of the worst seasons since prior to Katrina. And they got the nerve to raise ticket prices. So, like I said, this is a part of the check the Saints and check your player movement. Don't let these guys sit up here and make it no more. You check these guys with this bullshit, because it's a disrespect to you, because they're collecting a check to talk to you like this. They're not going to keep it real about that. They're not going to tell you the truth. That's the God's honest truth right there. I sit up here and watch these games, and I'm telling y'all, injuries played a factor in a lot of this. But in many of these games, the Saints had enough of their starters and players to win. And they were losing these games. They were falling apart in the back of the game, turning the ball over, allowing the quarterback to get sacked, not opening up running lanes for the running backs to operate with. And there's no excuse that if you have backups that can't block, they shouldn't be on the team. I said it the entire season. Put these guys in the street and find guys that know how to run block. Mickey Loomis sat on his ass and allowed this to happen. And then at the end of the year, he didn't apologize for nothing. They never apologized to you for nothing. He's sitting up there bouncing around with all kind of energy, talking about he's disappointed how the season is. If you're disappointed, get some of that money back, bro. Make it right. Get some of that money back. Go ahead and give it back. Get that money back. If you're really that disappointed, because you damn sure didn't earn it. 5 wins, 12 losses on the year, man. None of them dudes earn nothing, man. In my opinion, man. Miss me on all this crap. All right, what's up, Tasha? Thank you, sweetheart. She said happy birthday from Tasha and Sean. Much love. Love y'all too. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Picking me up, bringing me back.
Yeah, I'm cooking them on my birthday, man, because it's just what it is, man. I'm gonna stop it right there, man, because he sell a bunch of other garbage, man. But ain't no spinning this, man. The mindset of a champion is they don't introduce doubt into it. If you're a person that's ready to change and do something positive in your life, you can't operate change. And listen, this game for the family members on my birthday, I'm gonna drop this and then I'm gonna get on about it. For people, and I should be talking to every last one of y'all that's listening to my voice, because every last one of y'all know that deep down inside that you want to be better than what you are now. Let me give you some game, because I'm just like you. The thing is, in order for that to happen, you can't be who you were yesterday if you're looking to be somebody new today. All you're going to get is what you were. All you're going to get today is what you was yesterday if you don't change who you are today. There is no yesterday and there isn't tomorrow. There's only now, operating all at the same time. And if you want what you see in front of you or around you to change, which everything you are looking at around you are thoughts that already happened, things that have already materialized, things that are manifested. It's almost like a shadow reality of past thoughts that have already manifested. So whoever you see yourself as, that won't come into fruition until you become the change that you want to be. Don't wait for it. Do it. Become it. And that starts here. So you have to have a mind change. Your self-talk has to change. All of that has to change for your world to change. And it is a universal law that once you change your mentality here, then everything out here will change along with it, because it has to. It has to materialize. Whatever you are now is what you get. And if you don't like it, you got to change this and here. And I look at the Saints and I see this loser talk from Cam Jordan and these other guys making excuses. We don't sit up here and deal with hope. We don't deal with none of that garbage. You either do it, you either succeed or you don't succeed. There is no gray order or gray space in between that. It's very fine. Either you succeed or you fail. But even in failure, if you are high enough in your mentality, it is still a success, because even when you fail, you gain the key to be better. And we fail more than we win. And in the failure, you win. And if you're high enough in your mentality, then failure is an illusion that never happens, because all it is you gaining and gaining and gaining. So if you have that mentality, there is no such thing as loss. It's only gain. It's only transition. That's gain. So when I hear all this googly crap from Cam Jordan sitting up here with millions of dollars of unearned money in the last 4 years, the Saints stinking, and all he has is a ton of accolades of record breaking, that brings me no solace. It brings me no peace. But it just goes to show you, man, how far off that the Saints have failed since those glory days, when these people have literally been taken in and absorbed by losing and failing culture and hope talk. We don't deal with none of that garbage, man, if you want to succeed, man. So that's for anybody that want to be better. You don't point your finger at nobody out here. You know, you look at the Saints and you can say directly what's going on with them is a result of people at the top, because they decide the mentality of the team. But when they're involved in the kind of stuff that they've been doing, I have no surprise why a lot of this is going on, because this is a business. That's what it is. This is a business. This is a business, and this is how they run the business. They'll win just enough to keep you watching. But when it comes down to them, you pressing on them for bigger game and much more, you'll get resistance. It shouldn't be that much resistance from Mickey Loomis to make changes and wait that long and be forced to fire a coach and do all this stuff if it was about winning. If it was about winning. That's what I say. Anyway, that's up. All right, big ups to y'all, man. Appreciate y'all for being here. Wayne Brownlow says, happy birthday, fam. You're speaking the truth. Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate you. Appreciate you, brother, for that, man. This game, man. People got to understand in life, man. If you want to win, you have everything you have. It's crazy. Everything you need to win, you already have. But we've been conditioned as a people, regardless of who you are, to go outside, to go look for something. What you looking for? I don't know. I'm on my journey to find myself. Everything that you have, the good God gave it to you. You got it on the inside. You got it all. You got it all. And see, people have to understand there's this weird thought process. Like, you got some of these other people out here that are better than them, and that they got something that you don't, that you have. That's why they got as much you, these possessions, all this kind of stuff. The reality is it's all you. It's all on you, because you have to you got to change this here, because this thing right here that God gave you is creating what you have. Whatever you have in here is pushed out, what you're seeing. So if you're drawing cats to you that you don't like, or people to you that you don't like, that's you doing that. You're an energy being. You're made of frequency. They got all this break. They all this is broken down scientifically speaking. They got instruments that measure it. They got technology that put a scan over your body and see it's emitting a electromagnetic field. All of this is going. It's not spooky talk. It's science. And you draw things to you, depending on how spiritual you are. Depends on how far that electromagnetic field that's around you that you produce and goes. And you come in contact with people, you draw people to you, you draw certain experiences to you. See, it's science, it's frequency. All you have to do if you want to draw the things if you desire, because I don't want to say want, because want infers lack. And if you have a lack of thinking or a want infers lack, which means that whatever you're trying to go and do, you're just going to push it further away from you. So you can't use terms like want. You got to desire. You got to change up your vocabulary, because this is how the universe works. You got to learn how the system or the design of how the universe is put in by the Most High. He told you in Genesis when he was creating everything, right? What he was doing, he was speaking it into existence. How it's the same principle. You have the same God-given abilities. He didn't strip you of nothing. You have everything. You just was taught that you don't. So stop thinking you're lesser when you're greater. Stop all of the lesser talk and the crap that you hear people criticizing you and all this kind of crap. Stop all of that. Stop it. Start speaking yourself into power and keep doing it. Keep doing it, man. No lack talk here. If 2025, man, we are made for greater things. And I do realize that it was a program that tried to teach us that we're less than what we are. There are people saying that you're a sinner, you was born a sinner and all this kind of stuff. I don't buy into that. I don't buy into that. I don't buy that. You wasn't born into this world as a sinner. You wasn't. You wasn't. You're a divine being. You're a divine expression of the Most High. You wouldn't be here if it didn't. You're your own unique expression to this universe. The Most High bless you with all of these abilities, and they told you that you was nothing. Man, I tell you what, man, that's a whole nother level of show, man, to talk about. But for those who know, I'm telling y'all to get the rest of them, it'll take them 20 years if they make it that far to get this. At 48, fam, I'm 48 years old. I'm sharing stuff with y'all now that I had to learn in those 48 years. So if you wise, you learn from me so that you don't have to go through it. That's how people that are wise learn. They learn the words of wisdom from people that went through it. So perhaps they don't have to go through it. They can learn a little piece that might change their life. So on my 48th birthday, that's my gift to you guys, man. That good game. All right. All right. Shout out to Deborah. Hey, Deborah, shout out to my girl.
Say thank you very much. Picking me up, taking me back to this world.
Shout out to my girl, Deborah, man. She's a new member of the great Saint think tank, the mighty Who Dat Nation in the Coma. Y'all give Deborah a shout out, man, and welcome her to the Who Dat family. Shout out to Deborah. We appreciate the super chat, Queen. Much love to you. Appreciate you kindly. All right. Thank you, brother Brandon, man. Appreciate that. What's up, Muse? Shout out to my girl Muse is in the building. Thank y'all, man. Appreciate y'all, man, for that. I just wanted to share a little game with the family members today to uplift the spirits, even though at times I've been kind of disappointed with the Saints this year, as you could tell. Disappointed with the stuff that happened with the Catholic Church, with the Saints. Bensel should be fired and terminated and facing charges, and an investigation should be on the Saints. But they move in certain circles where they think they're being protected. But at the end of the day, you'll pay. You'll pay for everything. You thinking your money can keep you from divine retribution, you're going to pay. You'll pay. You're going to pay. I don't care how powerful or how money driven or how much money you got. You can't get away from the school. You're going to pay for that. So I turn all that over to the hands of the Most High and watch what happens. But at the end of the day, we just keep it real here, man. And that's what we got to do. We're not no shields, and we're not going to continue. We're not no sellouts, and we're not going to roll over for these people, man. We're going to keep it real because that's what this show is. That's what we put on here to do. A-Camp shot you, man. Shout out to A-Camp as well. Colorado, appreciate you, man. Much love, man. Thank y'all for all of this, man. All right, says, damn, kid, I thought you were about 32. Nah, man. I appreciate it, brother. All right, Young Blood says, happy birthday, one of the best. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Mean a lot, Young Bloods, man. Thank you for saying that, man. I'm a reflection. I say this all the time. I'm a reflection of you guys, man. I'm a reflection of you. So I just thank y'all, man. Thank y'all. All right. Brother Greg says he fought. He says, yeah, right. And I'm for okay. There you go, brother. Yeah, you're a little behind there, brother. You enjoy them years, man. Enjoy them years, man. A lot of greatness there. But anyway, with that being said, listen, man, I hope y'all enjoyed the stream tonight. I'm gonna get on up out of here. Got the Pelican post game report stream that'll be coming up later on tonight as the Pelicans match up against the Spurs. That'll be going on the PPR channel. Y'all want to tune in there for my Pelican people. And once again, I'd like to thank everybody, man, for tuning in on my birthday broadcast. I appreciate y'all for who y'all are and how y'all represent the mighty Who Dat Nation, man. And listen, man, I'm gonna be back next week. We're gonna talk more about the black and gold to see what other hires they got going on. We're gonna kick some more game and we're gonna spend some more time together. So with that being said, I'm gonna get out on that. I appreciate y'all. Who Dat? See you later.
Yeah. Boogie like Benson, I'm a Who Dat. I'm a Who Dat. Long as I'm living, I'm a Who Dat. Lose or winning, I'm a Who Dat. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, 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 Boogie like Benson, I'm a Who Dat. I'm a Who Dat. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on Tampa, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy and you probably smell the crooked referees on Roger Goodell. Yeah, probably like this and I'm a Who Dat. Every day I'm living, I'm a Who Dat. Lose or winning, I'm a Who Dat. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, 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 Boogie like this and I'm a Who Dat. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Who that say they gon' beat them say? Who that? Who that? Who that say they gon' beat them say? Who that? Who that? Who that say they gon' beat them say? Who that?
Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to NHL and UFC. Bet Online continues to be your number one sports betting source for every three-pointer to hat trick. Bet Online has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. Bet Online, the game starts here.
WhoThatDaily.com. That's right, the WhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, even the top flight boxing news. So if you're a Who Dat and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, WhoThatDaily.com is your site. The WhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who Dat in all of us. That's right, the Pro Shop is the platform store where you can go and buy all the latest merch to support the platform. Available at the Pro Shops, we have dozens of hundreds of products available for you and your family. Unisex tees for men and women, hoodies and sweatshirts, tank tops, kids and baby items, long sleeve tees, mugs, pillows, wall art, bath bedding, face masks, phone cases, stickers, bags, fanny packs, socks, hats, and many other items. Please feel free to check out the Pro Shops. The link is in the description section below. And remember, it helps the platform continue to grow. Check out the Pro Shop and Who Dat.